I'm Adam Gold, and right now I want to talk to you about the zero waste movement and what the zero waste movement is. The zero waste movement is a movement that is based around the set of principles that discuss people getting their waste production down to zero. So, getting their plastic production down to zero, getting their garbage production down to zero, so that nothing is being sent to the incinerators, nothing is being sent to the landfills, and nothing is being dumped in the oceans. So the actual concept of zero waste was started by a man named Warren Snow in December of the year 2000, and he discussed the idea of zero waste while he traveled around New Zealand, and then he proceeded to travel around cities in the U.S. talking about zero waste. And then right now we're trying to promote the idea of zero waste and the idea of people producing as little plastic as they possibly can and as little garbage as they possibly can for the benefit of themselves and for the benefit of the planet. Yeah, that's basically what the zero waste movement is, and that's what being zero waste means. And thank you.
Hi, I'm Shirley in grade 10, and today I'm going to talk to you about how you can start your zero waste journey. My first tip for you is to get into the mindset. Start thinking about zero waste all the time. You can think of this as a lens that you use to look at the world through. For example, when I'm going to the supermarket, I look at the food through a health lens to see what will be the best for my health. And I also look at it through an enjoyment lens to see what will taste the best. But I'll also look at it through a zero waste lens, looking at the packaging and seeing what will have the least impact. This really helps because often there is a better alternative right next to what you're picking. You're just not thinking about it, so you don't think to choose that one. But don't try to do everything at the same time and overwhelm yourself. It's better to take things one step at a time. Make a change and then wait for that change to become a habit. And before you know it, it'll be second nature and you can make more and more changes. But they'll have time to sink in so that you won't be overwhelmed. It's much better than trying to remember everything you have to do at the same time and forgetting. And it's more likely that these changes will last. And even if you can't be 100% zero waste, it's still better than doing nothing. So don't give up. Every change you make helps. What we need is a lot of people who are trying to be zero waste, not a few people who do it perfectly. My next tip for you is to get accustomed with the 5 R's. The 5 R's are a variation on the classic 3 R's that you probably know: reduce, reuse, recycle. But Bea Johnson, a zero waste activist, took them and expanded them to refuse, reduce, reuse, recycle, and rot or compost. Let me go through each one and explain what this means. Refuse. This is basically whenever someone offers you, for example, at a store, you're offered a plastic bag or a straw, or you go to the dentist and you're offered a little present, just say no thank you. This way, you're reducing your personal impact, but you're also educating the people around you and making them think about why you don't want that. Often this can start a conversation and you can make more people aware of zero waste and why it's important. The next one is reduce. Reduce the amount of things that you're consuming. For example, you probably don't need all the clothes in your closet, and you probably don't need a blender and a food processor. This is the concept of minimalism, to strive to have only what you really need. And this is really helpful because you're producing less waste from less stuff, obviously, but also because everything you buy has an impact before it gets to you. To produce it and ship it has a big carbon footprint, and you want to avoid that. The next R is reuse. Use reusable products as much as you can, instead of single-use ones. This is for things at home. For example, you can use a reusable beeswax wrap instead of saran wrap, and also for things outside of your home. For example, bring your own reusable straw and utensils, or water bottle and keep cup for coffee. Bringing all these things with you may seem like a lot to remember, and you may forget them at the beginning, but once you do it many times, it will become a habit and second nature. For example, how many of you actually think before you take your water bottle with you everywhere? It's just a habit. This also includes reusing things that you don't need anymore. For example, if you have a piece of paper, you can reuse it for notes instead of recycling it right away. And check out our cool upcycling workshops. You can also take things that you already own and give them as gifts or donate them, and shop at secondhand stores as much as you can. The last two are recycle and rot, or compost. These are the last things you should do in a life cycle of an item that you don't need anymore. And they're in this order for a reason. You should recycle things if you can before you compost them. For example, with a piece of paper. If you compost it, then that's good. But then a new tree has to be cut down to make a new piece of paper. If you recycle it, it can be a new piece of paper again. My last tip for you is to have a waste audit. Go through your recycling and your trash bin and see what's there. This will help you see where you are at in terms of zero waste and see where you should focus your efforts.
So, what goes where? How to sort while recycling? If you have any food waste, like an orange peel, or you didn't finish dinner or your lunch, that can be sorted into the compost. At St. George's School, it's the green bins, but if you're at home and you do have compost, it might be brown with the kind of fishbone logo on it, or if you're in a park, it might be green or brown, depending on the park or public place. But make sure to check if there's a logo or compost written somewhere, because sometimes recycling can also be green too, and you don't want to contaminate the recycling. So that goes on to if you have any paper in the area of Montreal, it can always go in the recycling bin. And if you have plastic, if there is a logo on plastic, which there usually is, if there's any number there, it should be able to be recycled in Montreal, unless it's a number 6 plastic. Then that's the only kind of plastic with the logo that can't be recycled in Montreal. So any plastics, paper, glass, can all be recycled. Everything else, but anything electronic, like any batteries, don't put those in the garbage or recycling or compost. You can do a Google search for a battery recycling station somewhere close to you. And for cables, like if you have an old charger for an old phone, there are electrobacs in downtown Montreal where you can recycle cables and old technology. So don't put that in the garbage or recycling or compost. And unfortunately, if you have anything else, that has to go in the garbage. There are apps that can tell you what can be recycled in your area.
For more information, check out the links in the description. I hope this video was helpful, and good luck on your zero waste journey.